Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 230. Shadowlands is creeping closer and closer, and with that, we have even more interviews. I'm not sure if you guys have been following lately, but there's been many interviews going on around Twitch, live interviews, which are super fun to follow along with, and we have some more to cover today. And besides that, we also have some customization options, or lots of customization options, which are now available. So that will also be really cool to look through. Last but not least, we also have a special guest. But before we reveal who it is, let me introduce myself. I am Annie, or also known as Annie Fuchsia, and I run this show together with my co-host, the lovely Perculia.
Hey everyone, I'm Perk. Thanks for another awesome week of your support in Shadowlands. It's been a huge week with all the character customization. May have a dressing room announcement for you all about that. Two interviews, one which we just learned about today with Ian. Lots to discuss there. Got a cat on my desk, but more importantly, we have a special guest. So, raise your hammers. It's hammers up for Towelliee. Need
Yay!
a hammer, yeah. Yeah.
Clapping sound.
Yeah.
Hammers up.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
So,
It's awesome having you
yeah.
here. And we're
And this is like
seeing
a
the hammers
really great
representing in the
week.
chat too.
Yeah, really great week to have you on because, between customization and then the two interviews, I think there's a lot to discuss here. And, you're always on alpha. Like, I think it's hilarious when Stefan's streaming data mining and you're like reacting to his data mining. I think that's so much fun to watch.
Oh, I own that. I'm like, everyone, watch Stephen. Is his name Steven or Stefan? How do you say it?
I think it's Stefan. Yeah,
Stefan?
it's Serbian,
Right.
so there's like Eastern European flair to it.
Yeah, we love him. We cheer him on. We're like, come on, Stefan, search for Arthas. He's in there somewhere. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Do it.
Oh,
Right now.
it's actually
Yeah.
lovely. The community around the whole data mining thing has become so much more fun now with the data mining being streamed as well. So it's awesome to see how you also synergize with that.
Yeah. So,
But yeah,
speaking,
so
yeah.
go ahead, Perk.
I think that I don't know about you guys, but I think the first thing we could talk about is all the customization. Speaking of data mining and models and stuff that we found that you can't totally see in game. I think all that stuff is pretty hype.
Indeed. So let's jump into
yeah.
some, perhaps some of the dwarf ones.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so special announcement about two things. Few things. First thing is happy birthday Kitsuki,
Yes!
Wowhead mom who wrangles all of
Yes!
our writers and community interactions. Happy birthday to
Indeed.
Kitsuki.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday
Yes.
to you. Happy birthday, Kitsuki.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Happy
she
birthday,
says.
Mom.
Happy birthday. Yeah, that was actually a really important note. I'm glad you remembered to do that first.
Yeah. Second, did you want to read out the subs before we jumped into the customization from when the show was just starting?
Yes, we can do that too.
Yeah.
We have 3 people to shout out. We have Fatal Caleb, a new subscriber. Welcome to the community. And we have Makin with his 9-month resubscription. Thank you for that as well. Keeping on supporting, very appreciating. We also have Ashley Bithia with a 24-month resub. So that's 2 years of supporting Wowhead. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for the support.
So my third announcement, which ties in with our customization topic, is if you go to the Shadowlands version of the dressing room, everything we are discussing is on Wowhead. So like human makeup, undead arm, leg removing bones, dwarf hairstyles, all of that is now on the site. So you guys have been asking for it for a month. There's still some things missing because Blizzard didn't put them in the game yet, but everything we're talking about now should be on Shadowlands Wowhead dressing room. And you're the first to hear about it. We didn't make the post yet. So special sneak preview. Go check that out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Special
Um,
news only for you guys. Well, first to you
Yeah.
guys rather. So you can now play around with the new customization options on Wowhead, which is awesome. That is awesome.
So yeah, so let's discuss some of this new stuff we found.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Good.
My first time looking at it, so I'm kind of excited.
Oh yeah. So let's discuss Male Dwarf first.
Sounds like a good idea. Shall we jump into hairstyles to start with?
Yeah, why not?
There it is.
So
we have a slideshow going with them, and let's see, how many were there actually?
I think there was 3 of them, and then we had a bunch of earring and feather options as well.
Yeah. So we
Wow.
have these hairstyles. I think the slideshow may have already gone through them. Something which might be a little bit more different, a little more interesting are these feather options that you have as jewelry. Here, let me bring them up.
I think the feather options are super cool as, the wild hammer with the griffins, and they're in different colors too.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like
you can, yeah, I think that's great. I was not expecting this because I just figured out, humans, they said we're gonna get the most options, but it's really neat to see the other races getting some love.
Indeed.
These are all new hairstyles, right?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
only
those
showing
4.
the new stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that first one is so awesome.
Yeah, like a mohawk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Like punk rock dwarf.
There
Love
it
it.
is.
With the full beard, that's gonna be such a fun combo. Like,
Oh yeah, that's true. You
mohawk
can
and full
match it
beard.
together with a beard.
Which you can now do in the Wowhead dressing room.
True.
If you want to try that look out.
Nice shout out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you also keep in mind that like a month ago they added a bunch of tattoo options for dwarves. We're just highlighting the stuff from
The most
yesterday.
recent.
Yeah. Also, all their eye colors are in, so some of the options are like, whatever, I know these eyes, but they've got, blind options, eyes that are different colors, and you can change your eyes separately from your face in Shadowlands, in case anyone, missed that a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that last eye one. Oh no, what is that?
Yeah, that doesn't look very good.
No, I love it.
It's like a crazy paladin. Like,
You know what
it's
it
super yellow.
reminds me of? It reminds me of the Pantheon guys.
Oh yeah, like
Like,
the
Yeah.
Titans. Yeah.
Yeah, he has like the Titan eyes on there. That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how there's a set of I guess more normal looking eyes, and then you have these ones suddenly, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah. It's like something's not going. Something happened to these guys. They've seen some shit.
They look really cool. It's like stone eyes.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. It does look like stone, huh? That's true.
Right? It's like a stone texture kind of thing.
I like the bright golden eyes as well before they get dark. Like I think it's the 7th one from the bottom.
Oh yeah, the first yellow one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very bright. Reminds me of those Blood Elf yellow ones that we had seen before.
Well, it also looks like they have more nose piercing options. They don't just have one option. They've got
Yeah, they do. Let's bring the nose piercings here.
Like you can choose, I think one of them is a double nose piercing. You can get tons of jewelry options now.
Mm-hmm.
You get like 2 in your nose, and then one of the earring options, I think there's like 3 on one side and 1 on the other, so you can pair all out the mohawk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Full metal.
Yeah.
And now looking at these nose piercing, seeing the bald dwarf, this is also new, correct? Having the bald as an option for hairstyle, or is that old?
I'm not 100% sure. Like Stefan just sends over like hundreds of images, and I'm just like trying to pierce this shit together.
So I don't play a male dwarf, so I'm not sure if that was ever an option.
Yeah.
But
do you want to look at the female dwarf hairstyles? Because there's some pretty interesting ones, including one that Sloot was just like tweeting about, being like, "What? I don't understand this one."
Wait, really? I missed that tweet.
I think when you see the hairstyle, you'll know what is going on with it. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's the one he was tweeting about.
Let's start. There we go. Let me open the page so I can see all of them.
Yeah. So we've got the full braids, which I like all these hairstyles. The first one is cool. The second one is a bit like, whoa, that's really intense.
Is that the one that Sweet was commenting?
Yeah.
So it's like a mohawk.
It's not just a mohawk,
yeah.
but you've got the sideburns. Like, that is over the top.
Wait, which one is that one?
That's the one that's
Female
showing
dwarf
now on stream, so soon for you,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the second one on the website.
Yeah.
What is that? It's like they have like a different random sideburn.
Yeah.
hanging off the side.
It's like you shave
You
the
know what?
sides except the sideburns.
You know what? They just want to be different. It's fine with me. I'm down with that. It's okay.
Yeah.
The third one looks pretty and simple though, how it's got the braided bun knot in it. I think that looks nice. Like I could see that going very well with the flower crown. Kind of the opposite of the
like the
mohawk with
ponytail one?
sideburns. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that
It's
one. Ponytails with
very-
braids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have earrings with feathers, which Stevan has decided to show with the sideburn option.
I was just gonna say. All right, we're showing off
Okay.
earrings and feathers
Yeah.
with this model. I mean, this hairstyle.
Yeah.
So if you ever wanted to match your sideburns with earrings
Your feathers.
and
Yeah.
feathers, there you go.
They should just put the feather on that piece of hair. It just makes more sense.
Yeah.
Cover it up.
Oh.
And then of course they also have 2 nose ring options, and I think previously they only had 1. But you know, obviously the highlight for the female dwarfs is that one hairstyle.
Yep, for sure.
I think I wonder what the name for that hairstyle is, because they added names to all of these things.
Oh, wait, that is interesting. What did they name it?
Yeah, I'm very curious. I don't think we have the name exactly yet, but yeah, that's, you know, props to the art team for trying to do crazy things with hair. So if you want to be traditional, you can have, you know, the long hair with the braid bun, but if you want to be more punk, you can be super punk.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
The more options, the merrier.
Yep.
Yeah. We can look into female goblins next.
I think that was it for the dwarfs. So goblin indeed.
Yeah.
Can jump into them.
These I found interesting because when they did that revamp, I don't know what you guys thought, but I feel like when they did the revamp in BFA, they all kind of got very like same facey, and some of their character was lost.
Yeah.
And I think that these like very over the top ear options and new hairstyles and noses bring back some of their kind of original vibe that maybe got lost in the middle of BFA.
Yeah, I remember there were a lot of faces that in the end ended up feeling like now there's only 3 different faces.
Right.
So maybe this will help bring a little bit more variety and a little bit more uniqueness between the different characters. So these are the different ear options. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So lots of flamboyant ear options. For hairstyles, they've got like a shaved back head, which is kind of interesting. And kind of a shaggy. Like it looks sort of normal from the front, and then you're like, oh, they decided they didn't really want hair. Like I feel like this hairstyle gets along with the dwarf hairstyle pretty well.
So you have hair from the front, but not the back.
Then we've got super shaggy hair, and then we've got some sort of bun that is teased super high in the back. So I like it. It appeals to everyone.
And the noses as well. I'll quickly show them.
Yeah.
I believe there's 3 nose options.
Yeah, I feel like these will do. I feel like these will bring back the goblin character.
Yes.
And hopefully more noses. I feel like that makes up a huge part of the face.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get
I
more
like how
options
they're
too.
not necessarily pretty. Like I feel like in BFA, it's like, oh, they look pleasing, but they're not meant to be pleasing. They're meant to, you know, be short and green and loud with, distinctive profiles.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It gives them a lot of personality, which they've
Yep.
been missing for so long. Like,
Yeah.
I love the noses stuff because honestly, I hate playing goblins. I don't play goblins, so
Because of
I
how they
wouldn't
look.
mind. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've just never been a goblin and a gnome fan in general. I'm not, I'm not discriminating here. Okay, just personal opinion.
But do you eat gnomes?
Yeah, I do now. I just switched to horde, so
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh. Well, I got
oh
2
no,
alliance and 1 horde here.
Perk, I'm not sure if
my
I
bad.
can be here anymore.
Yeah,
Well,
Ketsu, why do we keep getting these horde
been
people
great,
on
guys.
the show?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Kitsuki's a bit biased here.
Yeah.
That's why the room is like all red like this because I just recently switched, so I transferred all my characters over and everything. So
Oh, mm-hmm.
now I might make a goblin with the crazy noses. So we'll see.
I do love your background, by the way. We mentioned this right before we went live, that I think his camera setup with his background looks really good. And now that I'm told that it's a horde theme, I feel like taking back my compliment. But
Right.
it is what it is.
Like, oh yeah, very like dark with the red, and I'm like, oh no, it's
I'm like,
it's horde.
I love red and I love black, and then it's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Banned.
So.
But yeah, where were we?
We have more goblins.
Yes.
We got male goblin customization, and if you thought the female goblin noses were adding personality, the male goblin ones are
Oh my god.
even. Yeah.
Wait, let me get them up here. There we go.
Pinocchio. It's like on the first one.
Yeah.
Oh.
The
And like
third
you
one is-
mentioned from profile as well, they have a lot of personality. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
So, we got the noses, then we got the 3 hairstyles, including if you want sideburns, if you want the back of your head shaved, and if you want hair on the side again. So, I like how there's one hairstyle for people that just want to like shave most but not all of their head on all the characters we've seen so far.
Yep. What else do we have? Oh yes, and ear
got some
options
ears.
for males too. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Barbershop can be busy.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said the barbershop's going to be busy in Shadowlands.
Yeah,
Yeah.
indeed. Wait, can you change all of these kind of options at the barbershop?
Yeah, they updated the Barbershop UI to be like the character creation screen UI in the last build.
Oh. Because I remember not being able to change a lot of things. That used to be a paid service, I believe. At least back in the day.
I think I think they keep adding more and more to the Barbershop. Like I think there was one option they added in BFA that was like a huge deal. What was it skin tone? There was one of those options that you previously couldn't change before, and now you can.
Gotcha. But it's nice to
So,
see
what
these
else we
goblins
got?
getting all the variation. On the topic of goblins losing a lot of how they look, I feel like that's something that happened with a lot of races when they tried to, I'm not sure what word to use, but they kind of humanized all different races as well.
Yeah.
So especially with the horde races like Tauren, trolls, undead, they made them prettier looking, and with that as well, a lot of the characters or a lot of the different options for the races became limited with personality.
I wonder if at least with the revamps in BFA, because they're working on Shadowlands, if they're like, okay, it's okay if they're pretty for now because we know that we're gonna add, more flamboyant ears and
Yeah,
noses and other
exactly.
features, and like that's gonna be the full picture. But we just wanted to get them done so we had the base to play with.
Yeah, it was probably something that's been up in the air for a while, and now they're actually putting it in motion because having these ears and different options on these prettier goblin faces is actually quite nice and does bring variety. So I think it's going to be good.
Continuing with the horde love, why don't we look at female Tauren next? And this is the very first time during the alpha that we have any sort of Tauren updates. Like they just were not no updates for Tauren until yesterday.
All right. Well, let's start with the big one, body markers.
Yeah, like that.
Yep.
These are great.
Yes. And
Oh wow.
these
I've
add
seen
on
this.
to the idea of not having to transmog your armor or not having to show your armor in a transmog, because you can hide a lot of these pieces such as shoulders and chest, and then you can show these off wherever you are. Maybe even match these patterns with some leg armor, for example.
Yeah, these are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They're so detailed, and I like how they don't just look like a tattoo, but they look like they're textured on the fur. Um, so it
Good
doesn't look
point.
weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're just, I love how it's not just one color, but there's two colors,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
it almost looks like they're already wearing a shirt. So you're right, you'd want to show these off. And they're different colors. You can align yourself with the tribes that have different markings as well. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
you can a lot of face paint as well is available
Yes.
to
Let
go
me jump
along.
into that too. Here.
But like you can separate the face marking from the body. So if you just wanted the body but wanted your face to, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
you're wearing a helmet, you can mix and match, and it's so good. These are worth the wait.
Indeed, mix and matching, and you can choose the ones that are exactly the same colors to match each other. It's awesome. And then
And
for as a last option for the Tauren is also some additional, I was gonna say skin colors, but you can't really say that. Fur colors.
I feel like the first one, a lot of paladins are gonna choose because it's golden. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Maybe.
third option is what we've been showing all the tattoos on, and I think it's neat because when you have the two-tone fur, the tattoos look different, when it's against the black patch versus the brown patch, and I think it's a cool effect.
Yeah, certain colors definitely contrast better with different
Yeah.
backgrounds. So nice to have those options. So Towley, what races
So,
do you play now that you've abandoned the alliance?
On Tauren Paladin. So I was Blood Elf during BC and Wrath, and then I switched right to Tauren the second they were available in Cataclysm. So I mean, if
Mm.
these colors are sticking around, I'm probably going Golden Tauren for
Yeah.
Shadowlands.
uh, golden
Else.
Tauren and golden tattoos, the
Yep,
golden
everything.
white ones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Sunwalker
exactly.
It's
Paladin.
like the Tauren version of Lightforged Draenei.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
sounds
we can look
cool.
at the male Tauren next, which have similar options, but of course, the tattoos look a little different. But yeah, they've got all the same tattoo options
Mm-hmm.
and face markings too.
Yeah. Like they actually look the same to me. Are they actually different? Let's
Well,
see.
just their body type is different. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
all
yeah.
the same options, just a
Yeah.
different body type.
Same color schemes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're pretty neat. I'm sure Tauren
Yeah,
players will
I'm
be
really
happy.
impressed because a lot of people were all like, "Oh, High Mountain Tauren have their tattoos. How can they be different than the regular Tauren?" And I think that they're different enough, and both races offer unique things. Like if the High Mountain Tauren have the antlers, while the regular Tauren have the tattoos that look, more elaborate with different colors. So it balances each other out.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
So we're gonna do some alliance stuff. Humans keep getting more things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they have face shapes, which should not be confused with things like freckles or scars or other things that can go on the face. It's different from face type, and each one has
Yes.
3 options. So humans can have these are the in-game names. It's triangle, round, and heart for female, and then oval, boxy, and diamond for male. So I'm loving this level of customization with the human.
Yep. I'm showing them on stream as well. I feel like the difference between them is very, very subtle. And apparently, from what people were saying, was in these pictures, you may not really see the difference very easily. But if you actually in game and turn the character around, it's a lot more clear which face is the triangle one or the boxed face, and yeah, things like that. So if it doesn't look like there's a big difference here, just know that the difference is bigger in game itself.
You're
Yeah,
definitely.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, as a reminder, like this, all these options are in Wowhead's dressing room. So if you're not in the alpha, you can select the face shape and then like rotate the character to see how it changed. But yeah, just reading this from the dressing room, humans are up to, as far as options, face, hairstyle, eye color, face shape, necklaces, skin color, hair color, makeup, and piercings. That's a lot.
Yep.
Jesus.
So that's an insane amount of customization options. And yeah, really awesome to see all of that.
Indeed. Back to Horde, it seems.
Yeah, our final Horde. We have new eye colors for Undead, and I don't know, I think a few weeks ago we discussed, we're like, will Undead get pink eyes? We don't know. And they are. They're getting these wild neon eyes.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. I did not expect these colors to become a thing.
We're like, oh, they're gonna be, NPCs, whatever, and yeah, you can have these undead get these eyes. They're in the dressing room. You can have an undead with pink eyes, or purple eyes, or fell green eyes. Or a blind option. I was not expecting the blind option for undead.
Yeah.
It's the option over to the right.
That one's a little weird, but I guess if everyone else is going to have blind options, I guess they'll give it to them too.
I wonder if they'll also get the option of having just one blind eye.
Right. Well, it's weird because the rest of them don't really have pupils that you can't see. In the blind eye, it's almost more pronounced.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you blind and undead? But
yeah. I was gonna say, I was like, well, all right.
Yeah.
And then we have these on the female model too.
But yeah, this was definitely a surprise. Like the whole the dwarf feathers and undead pastel eyes were the things I was not expecting at all from this build. Like you figure like, oh yeah, you'll get new hairstyles or new tattoos, but undead can have pink eyes now they have the pink hair in Shadowlands too, so they're gonna have the pink hair and the pink eyes to match.
Yeah, that's actually gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Pink undeads.
Very pastel goth.
Let's create a rock band. Are these options already on the dressing room? I believe
they are.
Yes.
Actually, let me one second. Let me do something fashionable. I'm gonna link I'm linking a version that you can just drop in chat.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
So people can just go straight there.
Yeah. So dressing.
I like the eye colors. You can change them depending on what class you play. That's true. So sometimes some of us tend to pick the exact same face and exact same race for multiple classes. And now you can pick eye color according to what class it is.
So in the show notes, I put a link in, and this is to an undead with a new hairstyle that is pink with pink eyes.
Let me see. Oh wow.
Let me open.
Yeah.
That's I don't know.
And you can see with all the options, what's really cool about Undead too is that it's not just, hide or show all bones. You can do the leg bone versus your spine and the arm bone separately as to what you want to show and hide. So that's a ridiculous amount of customization. Like, I don't know, maybe you want the spine bone, but you want like the pants to show up normal, so you hide one but not the other. I think
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can click the link if you want to go straight to the dressing room and witness a pink-eyed undead with pink hair.
Yes.
So good. It's good though, right? It's like a lot of customization. So it's like previously you'd create a new character and it'd take you like maybe 15 seconds to just pick color, pick face, pick this. Now it's like you might sit there for like 5 minutes just to try and figure all this out.
Exactly. Especially as a very old WoW player, because most of us have already kind of gotten used to all the different options for face and hair and things of the race that we tend to play the most. So this makes it actually quite interesting, even if it's our 20th alt, to create a character to see what options you can pick.
And if you hate the options, you don't, all the old options are still around. They didn't remove anything. So if you just want everything to be the same, you can do that. But now there's just more options. And I think that even if you are an old player that just likes how their character looks, it might be neat to be like, well, maybe I want my eyes to be maybe I like the eyes from phase 2 and the mouth from phase 3, and now you can actually mix and match that, which you couldn't before. So there's a lot of variation just if you only like the older options that are more traditional.
I remember that actually annoying me in the past. Like, oh, I really like this face, but I want the eyes to be my eye color, but it's like not my eye color. And now you can mix and match however you want to.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I can only have this face because, I want the purple eyes. Now it's like, oh, well, I can select any face and do the eyes separately.
Yep. Purple eyes on, I feel like most races now have the option for purple eyes as well, which is pretty cool, like even human.
Yeah. So why don't we round out the customizations added today with a look at a race Towelie also doesn't play.
Apparently
The
eats.
gnomes. Yes.
Yes.
Especially now that he's Horde. Yes.
Yep. All right, let's jump into the hairstyles.
What is that?
It's so cute. One question though, are the eyes meant to be this cross-eyed?
We aren't sure. We were discussing this on stream, but that's what the data is. So maybe it's a work in progress.
I mean, it's so cute, but it does look a little bit odd.
Yeah,
but the hairstyles are cool. Yeah, there's a fly on the nose. That's where she's looking.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Cross-eyed would be a cute feature option. It would be. It would be. Just might be weird to have it all the time.
Oh, I just realized I'm looking at the dressing room. I can totally see the names of all the hairstyles. So I'm trying to find out what that dwarf option, what that dwarf name was.
The
I think the dwarf option. I think that might not be in yet, but yeah, you can if you're on the Wowhead dressing room and you click over the number, it will give you the names of all the things. So, going back to Gnome, that hairstyle we were just talking about, I think is like called Sassy or something like that.
Yes.
The one with the upwards part.
Yeah.
Sassy.
Yeah.
Nice.
So. I think they're all cute. All three
what if
of them
they would
are
give an
cute.
option to have characters with cross-eyed or not cross-eyed?
It would be weird if they were that way, like all the time. But it could be interesting. I would just feel bad for the character that is stuck like this forever.
Well, I don't know. It kind of looks cute on the gnome, I think.
What would you name it? What would you name it? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, I feel bad for the gnome.
You can name it Cutie.
Aw.
Yeah. And yes, apparently there are only 2 hairstyles, correct, for the female gnome, unless I missed something?
There are 3.
There are 3? I don't see the 3rd.
Yeah, no, sorry. There are... I put it under earrings because I'm smart. The first earrings one is a new hairstyle. With the pigtails that also have the buttons. Yes.
Oh my. Okay. Let me fix that.
Yeah. I should fix this in the post too. It's definitely not earrings.
I didn't even notice. I thought that the person who took the screenshots of the different earrings just decided to change hair color mid-through.
No, that was me being like, it's hour 5 of data mining. I'm just not good at identifying hair from ears.
That's okay. Let's see. Female gnome hairstyles. Save. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, adding it again. Should pop up now. Let's see. If we're lucky, the slideshow should work. If it doesn't work, I'll just drag it in as an individual one. And then I want to edit the other one so we don't randomly see hair when we're looking at earrings. Here it is. So that's hairstyle number 2. Yep, and that's hairstyle number 3. Wait, that's
Yeah.
actually really cute. So we already have a model with pigtails, right, for the gnome, and now
Right,
it's like
but
the
not
additional
buns.
part. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
So
That's really
they're
cute.
very cute.
Yeah.
I like the sassy. I like it.
Like the sassy.
And
I like the sassy.
That was
I believe this is a new hair color as well.
The
That we're
pink
going
one?
to see in the earrings. The purple one.
Yes, I think so too. Let's jump into earrings.
What I like about these is that they're not just the usual silver ones. A lot of them have engineering themes or arcane magical elements, which I think reflect the gnome's personality.
And I really like this color. It's like a blue-purple.
Yeah. So, guess the gnomes are getting all punk as well, and they can access some hair dye.
I think it's really sweet. And yeah, that's actually true. The hairstyle with the big pigtails and the buns does remind of Chibusa in Sailor Moon, a character in an anime.
Yeah.
Indeed. Oh, I meant to go here. There we go. Yeah, that's some sweet new options.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I really like the one that kind of looks like the arcane intellect Kirin symbol, and the golden gears with the studs in them. Like it sort of reminds you of the Mechanome, but it's not like over the top Mechanome, but it's a nice like nod to their engineering history. And then I think we can wrap up the customization with gnome males, which have some pretty wild things going on with their hair. Like
here we go.
Oh, this is gonna be bad.
Yep, male gnomes.
Oh,
that
Lord.
third one.
Yep, that third one was the one showing up first as well, so it's perfect. I feel like there's going to be a lot of very interesting character names with that.
Yeah. You can also customize your eyebrows separately from your hair now. And then you can same with the mustaches, and there's some very interesting beards coming.
Eyebrows too. Like, look at this one. Let's see.
What is that with the eyebrows? What's going on right now?
It's like you've got ice clips on your eyebrows.
First I've seen. It's like someone froze solid your hair on your eyes. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, there's some funny mustaches too, like Perk said. Let me...
First one.
Here. There we go. I think a lot of these are actually pretty wild and funny.
Yeah.
And you can customize these individually, right? Now?
Yeah, so eyebrows and then mustache and then beard, I think. The beard is also separate from the mustache, right? Or maybe not.
Yeah, I think the beard is separate from the mustache.
So you can mix and match some of these beard options with the mustache. So let's show the beards too. Here. Oh. There we go. So as you can see, these beard options don't have a mustache, so you can pick which mustache you want to match with it, if you want one, that is.
That one beard option is pretty full-on garden gnome wizard beard.
And you mean the one that's bent forward?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think it's shown yet. Let's see.
Okay.
I'm waiting for it. I'm excited.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
It's like a hammock or something. You just like put stuff there if you want, like for food or game controller, whatever you want. Just
yep.
plop it on here.
Food. Yeah, the leftover food for later, in case you get hungry again.
Ill. Master.
Ah. I'm not speaking from experience.
I can't.
Yeah, and that was it for all the customization options for now. And like we mentioned before, these are all now available on the Shadowlands dressing room. So if you want to play around with it, you can.
Yeah. I mean, not all these are available in game yet,
No.
and things like Night Elves don't have any updates today. Worgen don't have any updates, but some of the options from past builds are in for the incomplete races, like the really light purple hair color on Night Elves is up in the dressing room. So some of the other races have their stuff in, or like the new hair colors everyone got a few weeks ago, that should be all in. But because not everything's available for characters to test in game, so it's a little hit and miss. But we really worked hard to get all these options, as many as we could, finally up onto the site.
Indeed. We
So
still
I think,
have one sort of visual thing. We have a model to show you guys, unless there was something else
yeah,
you wanted to say.
I think we should show the model and then ask people to guess what armor type it is.
Okay.
This is a very special model.
All right. We have a special model here, and you guys have to choose the armor type. Or guess the armor type, rather.
Yeah.
There it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Plate, of course.
Yeah. Just
course.
kidding. It's actually it's the male set. This is the first good male set in WoW, and it's so good.
It is indeed a male set, not plate.
Yes.
That's awesome. People were like, "Oh, another dumb, awesome-looking plate set, whatever."
Yes, if you look closely, you do see the chainmail, so it does make sense, but it does give off a very sort of plate look, plate vibe, and
sure.
it looks really good.
Yeah.
So we can have some happy hunters and shamans.
Yeah, so just as a reminder, your legendaries will have this appearance, but you can't get a full set, obviously, and then somehow in the future you'll be able to get this full look. We don't know if it's a raid or like Torghast cosmetic, but it looks pretty awesome. And it comes in 6 colors, so of course everyone speculates it's, raid tiers and then Alliance Horde, but it's awesome. I love how all these sets have like the evil black and red option, but they also have this like kind of silver and gold option, like very weird light. I love all these sets. They're so good.
I love all like the little like kind of like how the Venthyr looked by Castle Nathria with like the little cloaks with the fur on it or whatnot. How they've like incorporated that like into the tier sets.
Yeah. So, yeah, these sets are great. I know they said they wanted to change their mind about male armor, and they're doing a really good job with them so far in Shadowlands.
Indeed.
I like how they're just a cool set versus like, oh, we have to put an animal on their shoulders to, show it's a hunter set. It's just like, no, let's just make something cool with chainmail.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like it's a very slick model. It looks nice.
Yeah.
And black and red is my favorite as usual.
Of course, with your hair. Yeah.
But yeah, jumping into other things.
Yeah, so for the customization news, we had some Torghast updates we should touch upon. And then there were 2 interviews, one with WoW Chakra with Ian, and then Preach with Morgan Day that, also talked about Torghast and some other, gameplay aspects of BFA. So yeah, why don't we highlight what Blizzard actually said was new with Torghast, and then we can discuss the interview stuff. So in this week's post, they made some big changes to Torghast. Torghast death count has its limit increased, but it doesn't reset when you ascend to a new level. Right. Monk and Hunter are available for testing, and Covenant abilities are now testable in Torghast and rotate on a daily basis. So, even though like the Arden Wheel zone isn't open, you can try out the Night Fae.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what do we think of the death count changes?
What do you think, Towley? Or do you have
Uh,
any
I
thoughts on it?
Oh yeah, no, I played for like 8 9 hours yesterday with all the new stuff,
Oh,
and I thought it was
wow.
really interesting. I thought it was interesting because I didn't even notice until I was a couple hours in that it wasn't resetting. So I was like, oh,
Oh.
I'm still at like, I'm like, wait, how did I get from 5 to 4? And I started noticing, oh my god, the whole death count is gonna last the entire run. It's not just like refreshing every floor now. It's almost like you have to be like way more careful, especially when you get to those higher level floors, that you don't die because it's just gonna carry over. So before you felt good, right? You're like, oh, okay, this one floor, 3 deaths, I don't die, or even I die twice, it'll reset on the next floor. You're not really scared. Now you're like, okay, I got to be careful now.
Right, and then there's the other thing which they didn't really get into that, the community discovered, which was that Torghast was updated with this system called Torments, which is the mechanic that acts as a soft timer that makes speed more important as you climb the tower. So the longer you take on the Torghast floor, the harder it's going to, end up being. And we think this was because Ian, I think, said a few weeks ago that they didn't want people to just like AFK in Torghast until their cooldowns were up and then use all of them to get through a floor, then, AFK for another 10 minutes. So, do we think this is a good solution, or do you think they should try something else to incentivize speed?
It's pretty brutal from what I've seen so
Yeah.
far. On the higher floors, I mean, there's one where you're constantly losing HP. There's the other one where you're taking more physical damage, which kind of like affects classes and some specs differently. So I can see where there could be some issues there with some of these. There's one where like a random guy, like as long as you're out of combat, you have a chance for this random guy just to spawn and start hitting you. And I'm just like, and I didn't even notice the buff. I'm just playing, and I'm like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Like, it's pretty rough, but I can see that's where they're trying to go with it. I think they want to create some sort of, I guess, yeah, I guess you call it a timer, like a cap. Like, you
Right.
can only
The
go
soft
this
timer.
yeah, like we're going to overrun you eventually with this debuff, and there's nothing you could do about it to get through it.
Yeah. They did add also, if people haven't been playing Torghast, there's a small safe area where you can change talents. Just if you have to like AFK, go to the bathroom, do your stuff. So you can still take AFKs, but you're not meant to use this. And they said in the interview today that they don't want you to spend hours in Torghast. It's not designed to, spend your whole day on one run in Torghast.
So the
And the
torments are
link,
currently live on the alpha, yes?
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you wanted to paste a picture of them in Annie, but we have a list of the torments in the post, like Might of the Upper Reaches increases physical damage taken. Mort Regards Echoes increases magic damage taken. Breath of Cold Heart decreases your damage. Fracturing Forces call forth the Morsworn Dude.
I'll take a quick
Eye of
picture.
Skuldus
Mm-hmm.
calls forth more minion seekers. Soul Forge Heat. You do you get fire damage every 5 seconds. Um, and there's also you know it seems really really rough. Like it's on floor 1 you gain 1% damage taken every 60 seconds. On floor 2 you gain 2% damage taken every 60 seconds. On floor 3 you gain 3% damage every 60 seconds. So it seems like that could really ramp up if you you know
Yeah.
it's like,
60
oh,
seconds sounds rough.
I've been in
Yeah.
here 120 seconds and it's floor 3. I guess I will, be taking like 6 or 9% extra damage. No big deal.
Here it
I
is.
noticed
Okay.
that I wasn't getting the torments until I was higher up. I think it's like floor
It's
13 is when I saw it first. I think.
Yeah, it's around floor 10 or so, and you get one of the 6 possible debuffs.
Yeah, 10.
Um, and then you also get that small safe area so you can change talents. So this
Mm-hmm.
isn't, floor 1, welcome to Torment, but
Well, my
yeah,
run's done. Gotta go.
yep.
Yeah, 1% every 60 seconds. Like, that sounds really rough because 60 seconds is not a long time. Like, you look away for a
No.
minute and then you've ramped it up by a percentage already.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's their new system. And actually, just looking, they introduced that idea in your interview, actually, Tally. So it's
Yeah.
kind of neat to see them just spitballing ideas on like a live stream, and then you see the results of that a few weeks later actually make it into the game.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we don't totally agree with it, it's cool to be like, oh, this is they discussed why they were thinking of doing such a thing, and they had a good back and forth, and now we actually saw the result of that conversation. It feels very transparent.
Yeah, it does. It does. And that's something that they commented in the we haven't jumped into it yet, but the interview with Preach, it was also mentioned how they felt like with BFA, one of the things that they learned from that was this sort of lack of communication with people and not planning alpha beta as well as it could have been done. So I think it seems like Blizzard and a lot of people there are putting a lot of emphasis and importance into this, which is nice to see. Very promising.
Yeah, I think it's really cool how maybe some stuff in Shadowlands is delayed. Like, they said they wanted Ouroboros in April. Obviously, it's, not April. But it seems that even though not all the zones are open, they still are trying to get that feedback. And that's why it's really good that they are letting you try different Covenant abilities in Torghast every day. So they don't have to be like, oh, well, the Arden Wheel quest isn't in, can't test Night Fate mechanics. It's cool how they are specifically opening that up to start balancing Torghast and seeing how, is there an ability that feels overpowered or not? Because, everyone is super concerned about Covenants balancing perfectly, or like this is like a must-have talent for if you want to do like raids or Mythic Plus. So I think it's good they're starting that process early, even if other things are closed.
Indeed.
So I thought we could talk about the WoW Chakra interview with Ian first, and then go to the Preach one, just because the Ian one was like more fresh on my minds from this morning. So
yeah, this interview was just like an hour or two ago, right?
Yeah, it's hot off the press.
Yeah, I was
brand new interview.
I actually missed this interview, so I am looking forward to listening to you as well. And yeah, run us through it, Perk.
Right. So this was with WoW Chakra, which is a Spanish fan site, and Ian, who he's been doing so many of these, which is cool. And they discussed a lot of general things. And some things that I thought were pretty interesting was when they discussed legendaries and professions. We've been already seeing on the alpha data mining that they want to do cooler things with professions, like some classic inspirations, some throwbacks to like Bear Tartar, weapon oils, sharpening stones. And they mentioned that they want the crafting professions to feel relevant throughout Shadowlands in a way they haven't been since like Burning Crusade. And they want to do that by when you collect all the materials for your legendary, you will need some materials that only these crafting profession characters can make for every legendary. So it's not like, oh, I'm a tailor, I'm making, like 30 pairs of these cloth boots as I'm leveling it up, and no one's actually going to ever want to wear them. I'm just making this pointless armor. It's cool that, you need to make this essential component, and people will want to keep buying this from you throughout the expansion. And the goal was to make that crafter in demand throughout the expansion, as opposed to just like,
yes, that's awesome. Bring
leveling
professions back.
That's great.
Yep. So
I feel like with every expansion, professions just became less and less important. Sorry, what were you saying, Tally?
Oh no, that's for sure. I was agreeing with you. Like it's like I think about Shadowlands with these changes to professions. I'm just like money.
Yeah.
Gold, stop buying WoW tokens. Finally make some gold for myself.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times people may drop into stream and be like, hey, like, do you have any tips on gold making? And I don't feel like I could tell people use your professions, whereas back in the day that's what I would always tell people. And now it's like, well, you can try professions, maybe.
yeah.
It's not very good.
I think that this is a really interesting, good step for legendaries and professions.
That's very interesting.
This next one I saw you tweeting about, Tally. Ian like kind of did some foreshadowing in several of his answers, being like,
Okay.
so, maybe there'll be a buff coming after the reputation buff ends, and we're keeping an eye out on, like things to do before the pre-expansion patch and adding different types of rewards. And yeah, basically, it seems the reputation buff is ending on the 18th, so final weekend is coming up on that. And then he said that they detail soon on a new buff coming, and they wanted to focus on alt catch-up, and he specifically mentioned maybe corruption or legendary cloak acquisition.
Ooh.
Corruption, yes, please.
How would they do that in like a percentage though for corruption?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, just to
Yeah, that's a good
read
point.
the
What would the
quote.
buff be?
What would the buff be? You get more
I mean,
corruption randomly again, but more
like
randomly.
a
All
corruption
items you loot is
vendor,
corrupted.
more like horrific vision runs give you rewards.
But then it's not a buff, right? Or like if there's
well,
a vendor. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, Ian said,
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at shifting to a different focus after this. We'll hopefully have some news on that in the coming days, where there's some new bonuses, also maybe permanent, that give you new goals and make it easier for your alts to get caught up in particular. It's something that we've heard a lot from people.
Corruption.
Hey, I've leveled all these characters to 120, but the idea of all the stuff I have to do to get my legendary cloak up to the right level, or how do I get the corruptions I want? Those are questions that deter meaningful play on those alts, and we'd love to make that easier for everybody who has this stable of 120s that they want to play more but just feel like they can't right now.
I have an NA character. And I just unlocked the cloak and I'm like, whoa, because of my EU account being a different region, I have to start over. I don't even have flying in BFA. And I have to start farming all of the different essences. That's going to be interesting. I don't know. What do you think, Towley? What are your thoughts on this?
No, I mean, see, I'm the opposite as you. I have a couple of EU accounts or EU characters who have like cloak level 2 and 3, and I just don't have I don't have the willpower to log into it and just run all of these visions. But yeah, after purchase, read all that, it almost seems like they might just take like the ny'alotha. What are the little where you buy your essences? That currency? What's it called?
I know which one you mean.
Those of
the ones to buy the
ny'alotha?
essences. What are they called?
The echoes, I think.
Echoes. Was it echoes?
Yeah, I think they're just
Or
gonna
the
put like
Titanic armor, yeah.
They're gonna make a vendor with corruptions, and you're just gonna use those echoes to buy it, I think, and then probably maybe just giving you more of the what is it called, the malefic cores from running visions.
Yeah.
Malefic cores.
Maybe just like doubling up on those. Like every vision you complete, you get like 2 or something. I don't know how they would make that a buff, but I could definitely see like a corruption vendor coming in because they already have that like on the tournament realm, like the MDI stuff.
They do, yeah.
So and we already have the currency in place, so why not just use that?
Yeah. So, and I mean, I definitely think it's coming because Ian, the interview directly asked if the reputation buff was extended, and Ian replied to that. But there was another question where someone was asking if the pre-patch was going to be starting earlier than usual because of all the leveling changes, and Ian just pivoted to like, well, there are like, some options we could do to give people more goals to pursue on live, and it's like, you wouldn't have just said that out of the blue if something wasn't coming. So, I think it's very good that they're reacting to feedback and noting that if the expansion is dragging on a bit without things that are new, what are some ways they can keep people excited and targeting different parts. Like the rep buff, I think got a lot of people doing old world stuff, like grinding allied races,
Paragons,
or like
well.
Paragon. But now it's like, okay, well, yeah, like what about instead of telling people, well, you must do your corruption this way, or suck it up and do your legendary cloak, it seems that they want to make things easier with different parts of the player base instead of just telling them like, you must enjoy the game this way or don't bother.
And also not just old content for people who are farming rank 4 essences for all the different ones that are available.
Right, because that's from Paragon.
Yeah, that's a Paragon for example, the Mechagon one. So I guess you have a few more days still where you have 100% reputation. If there's an emissary, you get so much reputation for that because it's doubled. So I would recommend doing that. Also, that being said, if we do get some kind of corruption boost after this rep bonus, I would suggest if you're holding on to a BOE trying to sell it for a lot of gold, maybe sell it fast because corruptions may suddenly drop in price. Just, might happen. So I would sell it just in case.
Good advice. Good advice.
Yeah. We also learned that Heritage people were asking about like storylines that hadn't been wrapped up, like Teldrassil or the Forsaken, and what are the they don't have the Heritage armor sets either. And Ian confirmed that they definitely want to continue with Heritage armor and find a way for every race to get a Heritage armor set, which is interesting. And he's like, Tyrande is being Ardenweald, these stories aren't totally wrapped up, but you can take a look and see which are the races that are missing Heritage armor, and maybe you can take guesses how what's coming next in the story. Night Elves, for example, don't have Heritage armor. Maybe something would happen with Ardenweald or Tyrande, for example.
True. They can just tie it into story then. It would make sense.
Yeah, they also said that usually they introduce that in like the 0.5 patches, where it's less like new systems and more like interesting content to do. So that's coming along. They also talked how like now is not the right time to think about new home cities for the Night Elves and Forsaken, but it's something that's going to play out in time, and they're already thinking about how to resolve those story arcs, but it doesn't really fit into Shadowlands.
So when is the Alliance taking over Undercity again?
Yeah. Are we going to see Arthas in Shadowlands? What do you guys think?
I want to hear what Towelliee thinks.
No, I don't think we're going to see him. No, I think they're going to have maybe some sort of like you talk to the NPC and they'll mention Arthas or something, maybe like the guy who forged the armor or whatnot or something like that. I don't know. He seems like that such an iconic lore character, even above all the other ones we have right now, that it wouldn't do him justice just to bring him in because we just happen to deal with Bolvar right now and Icecrown again and the Shadowlands. I don't know. I say just leave Arthas alone.
Leave him alone.
Leave the poor guy alone. We have all these new stories and characters that we're gonna see again. Maybe in the future. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't think we're gonna see him.
So you think, if anything, it's more possibly a mention of him in some dialogues.
Yeah, because he was so iconic during that time.
Yeah, so Ian specifically, Ian's like, I can't reveal stuff, but he's like, we're gonna learn more about like the mythology of the Lich King and what motivates them and the magic. So we're gonna learn more about what goes into Arthas, but he's like, we're not gonna be just running around casually talking to Arthas as we're questing. But I think between this answer and then the lead narrative designer Steve Denuser being like, oh, wait and see, we can't say, I think that we could see Arthas as like I don't know, 9.3 thing, where maybe at the start it's all these stories, but I feel like Arthas played such a pivotal role in like Bolvar's transformation, and even Sylvanas, that if maybe when all the smaller threats are resolved, if we're trying to get to the understanding of what motivates the jailer, what motivates Sylvanas, I feel like he's gonna have to show up at some point. So I don't know, maybe he's like the final boss of the expansion, or it's gonna be like an Illidan where he makes an appearance towards the end of the expansion. But I feel like between Sylvanas and Bolvar, he has to,
make some kind of
his
appearance.
presence has to be there somewhere. Yeah.
Sylvanas just needs to get over it, honestly, and just move on.
She's like, oh, I'm now friends with the jailer who can beat you up, Arthas.
You have death powers, girl. Go get it, all right? Just no need for Arthas anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Because like you said, if Arthas does make any kind of presence, it would make more sense in the later part of the expansion, not straight up at the beginning.
We're going to have to get like a Sylvanas versus Arthas rematch cinematic.
Yes, as a cinematic.
Yeah.
I'm actually already excited about cinematics. I feel like that's one thing in BFA that has been amazing. I loved all of the cinematics, and hopefully and probably we'll see more of those pog moments.
And wouldn't that be interesting? It's like we've seen that Sylvanas can, you know, defeat Bolvar easily, and it's like, does she have enough power now to defeat Arthas? Because obviously he's gonna be somewhere in the maw because he's not really a nice guy. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be interesting,
Mm-hmm.
especially I mean, yeah, with all the problems Warcraft Reforged had, I mean, that was very much like learn about Arthas, and here's this new beautiful model of Arthas, and here's a statue of Arthas, and they were really pushing Arthas's story in our face until it flopped. But I feel like that was a very convenient tie-in for people to learn more about that character, which who just happens to conveniently tie in with the Shadowlands.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a few other questions discussed, but we've got the full interview up to recap. I think we should move on to the Preach interview, which was 2 days ago, Tuesday. It feels like last week with how it was like Preach interview and then just like billions of customization options, and
Yep.
then
I'm loving all these
interview this
interviews
morning.
lately.
Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah. So, and it's really cool we have Tally here because he did an interview, so it's neat to hear about that, not just from like, oh, they did an interview, but like, yeah, it's really cool how they reach out and facilitate communication and all that. So, an insider perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the highlights from this one, like you guys can jump into because you all watched it, was they weren't thinking of an infinitely replayable mode to Torghast like a few weeks ago, but based on feedback, they're now considering
Yep.
A mode, and that could have prestige rewards like the Mage Tower cosmetics.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you guys think of that? I mean, I think that's another example of the transparency, or seeing how things develop, how maybe at one point they're like, yeah, we don't think so, and then a few weeks later they're like, actually, yeah, we've changed our minds, or going a different direction.
Mm-hmm. I'll let Towley comment first.
Yeah. I like that. I was just gonna say that. I feel like they're all over the place with the tower, and I love it because it's like they had their vision, and now we're kind of giving them our vision, and now they're just constantly making changes. Like every week, the Torghast is different from the previous one, and now they're taking this feedback where they're like, okay, well, some players have kind of like a different kind of avenues in their goals for the tower. Some people just want cosmetics, mounts, and pets and toys, and other people want to go farm those account-wide legendary recipes. So why not just split it in two? Make one like capped out legendary rewards, and after that you can just go in there as much as you want. Doesn't matter. Don't need no keys. Just go in there and just farm some rewards. But you still have to deal with the difficulty, obviously, and all the little debuffs or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy how they're kind of all over the place with Torghast, but it's good to see because it shows that they're listening.
I think that people really like the Mage Tower for the cosmetics, and when Blizzard was like, oh yeah, horrific visions, they're just like the Mage Tower, and a lot of people were like, I can't get cool shit from horrific visions. Yeah, there's a mount, but like, where's my cool weapon? So I think that it seems like Blizzard is getting it more, and they're like, oh, when we say Mage Tower, a substantial amount of people really wanted to farm a really cool weapon. So let's make a mode for that portion of our player base, and not feel like one's alienated. Let's appeal to both at the same time.
And why is it a currency as well? Why do I have to choose between buying sockets and a mount? Like, why can't I get a mount for completing 5 masks and maybe something else special? Or I guess that might limit certain people to be able to do it, but I'm sure it gets easier as the content goes on and you get better gear. Because I feel like I can't really buy the mount right now because I have to buy sockets unless it's an alt where I don't really care about the gear. So it's nice it's nice that there might be a potential way to have this separated, where you use up your keys, so vessels of today for horrific visions, in order to get gear. with the corruptions. And then you have a separate system, if you would imagine it in Horrific Visions, where it doesn't cost you a vessel, but you have the chance to gain the cosmetic things. I think it's great that they listened to the feedback and make this possible, because I remember, Perk, you and I talked about this a few weeks ago, where we said it will be possible to farm more and more keys, but it might in the end start feeling a bit repetitive, so maybe you don't want to do it too much. You might get bored of it. And then there's also that part where you have to spend some time in the maw, and then you keep getting that debuff, and then there's a limitation on how long you can be in there. But this kind of answers that and says, well, if you just want to do it for fun or for cosmetics, you can do it without a key. And I think that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. And as the interview revealed, which has now actually happened, that the Covenant abilities are testable in Torghast. They rotate the Covenant that's available to each class every day. But they also wanted to caution that portions of the Covenant system are still not online, like Soulbinds, Conduits, and Legendaries, which I feel like has not gotten a lot of attention yet. I also feel like with Torghast, the Curians have the anima powers that can upgrade your abilities, but the other Covenants don't have those similar anima powers in quite yet. I did a search for them yesterday, so there still could be more gameplay variety options there. They said the interesting note that conduits, which are things that you can like socket into open parts of the Soulbind, could be made to fill in gaps between Covenants. So if like, I think it said like, if a Curian Warlock is really good at single target, they could make some conduit options where you can socket it to, improve your AoE, and that could be a way of getting rid of the stigma that, this one Covenant is a master at only this thing, if the conduits can add more, I guess, either utility or DPS strengths. Which, I mean, it's interesting because like people are really worried about not being able to swap covenants in balance. And like Blizzard keeps being like, oh, even more is coming and more is coming, and conduits are now a thing. And I think we're all like really anxious and anticipating seeing all these other moving parts of the system. So it's not like, oh god, they added this, but it's also unbalanced. Like I want to get my hands on more of these moving parts.
Yeah.
Make Covenant swappable Twitter account.
Yeah. Well, before it's like, oh yeah, Soulbinds will help fix things, and it's like, oh, actually Soulbinds have this, deep, like, it's, what happens if it makes it worse? So I think people are really keen on seeing all these things Blizzard is touting as like, oh yeah, this will, fix and balance everything out. It's like, okay, we want to actually see it in action. I also thought that we've been discussing this a bit on the show, how it seems that in addition to Blizzard being more open with, showing up on streamers, streams, doing these interviews, having more of like a back and forth versus, pre-scripted answers, that they've been more chill when people talk about data mining. Like we've brought up before how Ian was chill talking about like the Blood Elf eyes, or when presented with the model of the jailer, he's like, oh yeah, that's actually the jailer. And in the past, usually the devs are like, oh, can't discuss this, it's not up yet, ignore data mining. And I thought it was cool how in this Preach interview, they're like, oh yeah, Soulbinds aren't available yet, but, it's really cool how some fan sites can piece it together and can actually show you guys the work in progress calculator. And to me, that was a really big step, because I've been, always trying to advocate how data mining can help and not just confuse people. And I think that it seems to be a very like healthy perspective in Shadowlands, how the devs are, reacting to it.
He was very positive to it.
Yeah.
He said that, I think he even used the word impressive, maybe, how the community tools are able to be so spot on a lot of the parts of it. And that's nice, Data mining is being uplifted rather than, shoved under the carpet.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit at the big kids table.
Yeah. You're on the big table now, Perk, with Stefan and the team.
Yeah.
It's awesome to it was awesome to hear that.
Yeah, so it's just like a little personal side note there. They said nothing to announce about Shadow Priest yet, but they know it's they didn't work on it, so rip. There's a lot of discussion, I don't know if you guys caught it too, but it seems whenever there was a spec question, they were trying to redirect it back to, it's about the class fantasy in Shadowlands, not the spec fantasy. So, we'll see how that goes. I don't know. I hope it's not like it's too much work to maintain, distinctive specs, like Legion.
1 sec.
But yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you, but people said F. I wonder if that means the stream is down.
I thought the F was for Shadow Priest.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Keep the stream down. No, everyone
makes
just hates
sense.
Shadow Priest. You have to play it to know.
I'm sorry for
What's going on.
interrupting.
Yeah.
I just got worried if my internet went down or something. But I was like, I can still hear them. Surely it's fine.
Yeah.
And then I saw one more F and I was like, okay, I have to say something.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you guys are getting that vibe too, how like they're really trying to drive home the class fantasy over the spec fantasy, which I think it's good they're trying to emphasize the classes again, to be like, oh, we're gonna ramp up to class tier sets returning. So hopefully it's good that way, but I know people are asking spec questions and feeling like the devs aren't really, digging into the spec specific answers, or, like, where's my, like, priests are cool, but like my shadow priest has issues. Like, when is this finally gonna get fixed? But yeah, I'm definitely just noticing a trend where they're like, class fantasy, let's keep pushing those buzzwords in our interviews, as opposed to specs.
Yeah.
Yes, mages don't
So-
randomly just forget how to frostbolt,
Right.
no matter what spec you choose.
This is a hot topic that keeps coming up in interviews. The ongoing GCD discussion. Sloop brought it up in his interview, and then Preach brought it up, and then we saw some data mining that maybe shows their philosophy in action. But yeah, they said, they agree that having to spam multiple buttons in a row is a problem and not really fun. But they don't necessarily agree that removing them from the GCD is the solution. Maybe they would try to make a button like more impactful or change the cooldown or something. And they're looking for feedback on the worst offenders for the GCD issues. What are things where you feel like you have to, spam like 6 things in a row before you can really,
Exactly.
begin stuff. And then we actually saw that Blade Flurry, Blizzard is trying to make the button feel better when immediately pressed, so it doesn't feel like a dead global. So Blade Flurry now deals AoE damage when activated. So maybe that's the direction they want to go in with some things, taking the worst offenders and putting another twist on them.
I think they did similar things with some of the current existing abilities too, like the Paladin Wings for healers. I think that's an initial heal burst when you pop the CD, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe there's more things like that where, if you're popping a CD, you don't want to feel like you're spending a second losing healing because you're popping a CD, because that second you may want to heal somebody because they're about to die. So that way you're healing and using the CD, which makes the game feel more fluid.
Like Resto Shaman had a similar change to Ascendance in 8.5, 8.15, where they added the component where you immediately heal for 600% of spell power, in addition to the effect that duplicates all healing for 15 seconds. So it's definitely still a work in progress. I know Sloot is working on like a master Google Doc of feedback, but it is promising to see that it's come up in several interviews. The devs, instead of just being like, oh, we don't want to talk about this, actually pressed people asking them for, what feels really bad. And then 2 days after the interview, we see this Blade Flurry change that seems to be in response to the discussion. So, it definitely feels better than like BFA, where it's just like Azurites behind this, curtained off wall, and like no one can discuss it for several months, and it's like, well, you better like this or else.
Yeah. Now you can test Azurites. Oh, by the way, expansion's out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you still don't understand how Azurite's meant to work. Like, they're not meant to respect.
Right, negative feedback. Oh, it's because you haven't seen the whole picture. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
No,
I like
it's
the
nice
yeah.
that they've learned a lot from that and doing it the way they're doing it now.
Yeah, I like the
Did
on
anything
off
else?
thing.
Yeah.
The on off.
Yeah, like Blade Flurry, like it's a active buff instead of like you have
Oh.
to press it or whatnot. And
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, playing the alpha, there's some terrible GCD issues, like ones that just drive me mad. But it's good to see that they're making some changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, did anything else stand out from the interview for you guys? Because that's what I thought was, cool from it. But there's,
Well, I think that's good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like as someone that, has done one of these interviews, Tally, like, what did you think of the process? Like you haven't, correct me if I'm wrong, but you haven't, that was like a brand new experience for you as well, getting to interview a dev like that, right?
Yeah,
This
it was
one frame?
more like on a personal level because usually like we work with devs and we have open communication with them and we have access to them throughout the last maybe like 5-6 years now, probably since like Draenor. But
Right.
this was more like a personal level. Like they wanted us to talk to them just like like two average guys, gals just talking. And I thought it was really cool because like they came to us and said, hey, how would you guys feel about like interviewing certain devs right after the alpha comes out and just start shooting questions at them. And and it wasn't like anything was like pre-scripted, like I didn't have to like they didn't proofread my entire page of questions or anything. They were just like, yeah, just shoot away. If we can't answer it, we can. If we can, we can, and we'll have a good time doing it. So I thought it was a really good experience, and I love now how they're just like just talking to like different fan sites too. Like you had like the
Mm-hmm.
Wow Shocker, you had the French streamer as well. And I think there's going to be more to come too. I think once beta comes out, they might just do like a whole nother like let's redo this again and
Mm-hmm.
talk to the same streamers or different streamers. And I think it just builds a good relationship between like us as content creators and them as devs, and also the community as well, because the community is there watching in the
Mm-hmm.
thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Every single word they say when they answer their questions.
Indeed.
It's
And
like
it does
because
come off
it's
so much more personal too. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead?
I mean, just like the similar thing, like it's because it's so unscripted. There's no issue of like, oh, they already answered this question or they already talked to the streamer. Because it's if they, go back to your stream a few months later, can be like, hey, so how did the Torghast issues we we're talking about like ever turn out? And hey, you thought about doing X, but you ended up doing Y, or hey, you still don't have a good answer to this question. Like what's the blocker with that? So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like an ongoing dialogue as opposed to like a very stuffy PR interview.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what I was gonna say was a lot of people who may play the game may not religiously follow news and things like that either, because as you said, it can come off very stale and boring, patch, wordings and things like that. So having the streamer, in a casual kind of environment, ask questions feels a lot closer, even as a viewer, not just as the content creator as well. So it's just win-win for everyone, really. And it's a good point that you mentioned beta as well, because these interviews are now taking place during the alpha, which is really, really early. So we can probably look forward to a lot more things once it's actually beta as well, when they're supposed to. It actually feels like beta to me already, because
Oh yeah.
it feels like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
so many things out there and so much has been discussed already, and that's really promising.
Yeah, so I think that this approach is really great in Shadowlands, and I don't know how long was in the works for, but even with the quarantine, or maybe as a result of the quarantine, it's like, oh, Ian can't go into his fancy studio room at Blizzard and just, do like his hour-long YouTube videos. Maybe it's like, just calling in the streamers at home. I think that's worked out really well, and it hasn't been affected by in-person restrictions or fancy studio access that, other parts of the industry has been affected by.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just put on a headset and just talk. That's all it is, right? I mean, they're all at
Yeah, I
home.
mean,
We're at home. We're at
that's what
home.
people want. They don't need like fancy
Yeah,
production
yeah,
values.
it's true. And we were
They
kind of
just want
worried about the
information.
alpha, how it felt like it was taking longer to get into it than we might have expected at first. But now the rate at which it's going is really good. And I think that's
Yeah.
always better. Just wait with the products rather than rushing them and do it properly.
Yeah. And even if like like the news, maybe like Ouroboros is behind schedule. But it's nice how like we're saying, like Blizzard can still make things testable. So like you said, every week, Torghast has something different, and that's still content.
Mm-hmm.
It's still fun to try that out again.
Mm-hmm.
And it still gives Blizzard good feedback.
Mm-hmm. Somebody in chat was wondering about alpha invites. I'm not sure how it's working. I'm assuming maybe there's new waves every now and again, or there's no like alpha key system. It's more like
No.
you can get flagged for it. So if you are interested, make sure that you opt in on the Battle.net website.
Yeah, and there's no, I've personally not heard any discussion about beta keys. We've spoken on past shows how if it's like classic, that might not even be a thing.
Yeah,
Like we're
yeah.
saying, it might be cool if like people have beta access, but then on the weekends everyone gets to focus test something because that worked out well with classic. So there's no keys. Don't be scammed. Just
Yeah,
they
don't
also
buy
tend
a
to
beta key on eBay. There are no keys.
yeah.
There are no
They also
codes
tend
to
to
give you
do
access.
stuff where, like, when raid testing starts, if your, raid is really progressed, then, you might get an invite to, help out with the raid testing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think
This one
that.
the biggest. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, finish your thought. I was gonna like pivot topic. So.
Oh no, I was just like saying that's usually when the biggest invites go out, is when they start doing any kind of raid testing, because I think it happened during Legion. I think they invited like the top like 100 guilds in the world that defeated what was it Archimonde or whatnot, and it was a huge boost in players, and I hope they do that again, because I think we need more players right now.
Especially the Alliance. Everyone is leaving us. We need more Alliance players.
Rip.
Rip.
Another few mythic raiding guilds on my server, Ravencrest EU, have moved to Horde because apparently it's easier to recruit than Horde because there's more people.
Yeah.
So yes, please come back to the Alliance, guys. We need you.
So I was gonna say that I think that's about it for the major alpha updates in the last week, but we still have like more Ian interviews and some Diablo rumors. We even have a WoW board game that was announced.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So, I figured we should at least touch on those topics because, it's cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Ian spoke to Wired about how WoW evolved and the social nature of the game. And it's just funny because it's like everyone is like, Mike Warheim makes this statement a few weeks ago about how like WoW used to be really social, and then accessibility changed it, and now like everyone, like Ghostcrawler weighs in, J. Allen Brack is on the earnings call talking about it, and now we have Ian talking about accessibility and like how WoW has changed as well.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I think this interview was neat. Like, it wasn't, oh my god, like Shadowlands release date, but it was, I like how you actually get the devs when they're just musing on a certain topic and there's, insights to actually think about. So one thing Ian said was games are very rapidly solved these days. The internet as a whole has refined the process of accelerating and socializing information, figuring out problems. The reality is that almost everyone was playing WoW Classic, WoW Vanilla WoW wrong. The internet as a whole, the world as a whole, has refined the process of accelerating and socializing information, figuring out problems. So, and then today people are almost trained to min-max. The community pushes people in that direction, especially socially. Even if it's not your preferred playstyle, the people who may want you in your group or may not are holding you to some of those standards. Once it's knowable, you are expected to know. Players are much more likely to be tolerant of each other's faults. You probably weren't going to kick your healer who made a mistake from the group, because then you'd be back to spamming chat for 30 more minutes.
Yeah.
So that is what, another very similar to Ghostcrawler, like the internet has just changed things, and that WoW vanilla mindset isn't as possible anymore. And I think it's really good Ian is talking about this, because he's the dude working on WoW. So if Ian's going to admit, like, people are trained to min-max and the community pushes people in that direction, then it's like, Ian is, knowing this and keeping this in mind as he's actually developing WoW. knowing that, you know, he can make something not min-maxy, but people are going to make it min-maxy, so you have to keep that in mind and not be surprised when it ends up that way. So,
what are your thoughts on the matter,
else?
Towelliee? On the social aspect of WoW?
Oh, wow, that's a big one.
Yeah, it is.
Well, better Ian to talk about it. I mean, Ian's old school. Like, he's played the game, like, you know.
Yeah, Scarabord.
Yeah, so, I mean, he knows what's happened from day one till today. I don't know, like, I mean, I agree. I think people think about us as just WoW players, but we also play other games as well. So sometimes, you know, we take all that min-maxing talk from other games too, and we just kind of bring that to WoW. And the game has kind of changed so much over the last, like, coming on 16 years now, where I don't think it's so much that the game has changed. It's more that I think we have all changed as well as individuals. So, you know, some people like to put all the blame on WoW for their LFGs and for their cross realm zones or whatnot. And it's like, I always tell my community, I'm like, hey, you want to talk to someone, just talk to somebody. You know, it's like nothing's stopping you from forming your own groups and talking to people and trying to make friends and inviting people to your friends list. And what's the worst they're going to say? No, they say, no, it's all good, whatever. You know, so I mean, it has become easier to streamline World of Warcraft now. For sure, it's definitely not like the infancy stages of the past where we were just like little babies and we're walking around and we're just figuring stuff out, and we couldn't kill that elite that needed 5 players, so I had to like invite like everyone to a group, and that took like half an hour. I think WoW just has become more streamlined, and maybe to some people that takes off the social aspect of the game, but I still think that people are connecting every day in World of Warcraft. Maybe just not on that like infancy level that we did when it was like vanilla.
Yeah, I think the social part of it was a lot more innocent in that sense, which was also touched on in this article too, where making a mistake back then was not punished as harsh as it would be today. And that's not only because of the game changing, it's also because we're changing as people. People are generally less patient with others, and that affects the social aspect of everything as well.
Yeah, like you can have like Netflix on in the background, or like be playing a game on your phone or your Switch, you know, so like, you know, if you are impatient, it's like, well, I can do this other thing easily. Well, you know, maybe 15 years ago it's like phone games, what's that? Or, you know, like I have one computer, I don't know multiple devices. One thing I did think was funny though, we're talking saying how we've changed, but some things don't change, because Ian said it's amazing how some of the old tropes you never quite get away from. I actually have a coworker who was one of the original developers on World of Warcraft, whose name you definitely recognize if I said it, whose own personal WoW classic group split up at level 60 over loot drama in Blackrock. This is a group of developers who played the game 15 years ago, worked on the game 15 years ago.
Yep, that's funny. Yeah. Even WoW devs are having drama over loot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some things don't change. Yeah. It's like, I need this item. I invented this item. Give me my item.
I designed it, okay?
Yes, well, you designed the item, but I made the NPC.
So. Hey, I worked on the stats, okay?
Yeah.
Read the trinket. My name is on that trinket.
Oh, that's funny.
So, swapping gears a little, we have a rumor from a site that predicted some other BlizzCon rumors. Diablo 2 Resurrected, with more information on the remaster coming in late 2020. So what do we think about this? Like, I know everyone's like, remaster, Warcraft Reforged, but I think it could tie in well with, you know, the Diablo Immortal and Diablo 4 hype coming.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've never played Diablo 1, and I played Diablo 2 for like half an hour once on my stream. I've only played Diablo 3 campaign, and that's it.
Right.
So it's like, but I got excited because of how everybody else gets excited, because Diablo 2 seems to have this aura around it with the community. And all I hear from my viewers and people on social media is like, "Oh man, I invested like 30,000 hours into Diablo 2. It was so good." And I'm just like, "All right, cool, let's do it. Like, I'll try it out. Let's go. Let's see what happens." My first time, so I'm pretty pumped about it. And it'd be cool if they would just like release that too, maybe with some sort of virtual BlizzCon thing, with like Immortal, I guess, if people are interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, no joke. Sunday after BlizzCon, our top traffic post was Diablo Immortal update. So people might make fun of it, but they're very, at least Wowhead's audience is like pretty interested in Diablo Immortal here.
They want to
So
know.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they want to play Diablo on the toilet as they're, walking on the train. Like, they want to play Immortal when they can't play WoW. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's really exciting to hear this because of how, like Towley mentioned, how it's been a pillar for a lot of people who played the Diablo franchise in the past. It's kind of scary because of how Warcraft 3 Reforged went, but I think after the Diablo Immortal, I don't know if I should call it scandal, sounds a bit dramatic, but after the a lot of negative talk around Diablo Immortal, it feels like they probably will put more effort into making sure that this is right, and then especially after Warcraft 3 Reforged as well, I feel like surely they won't be failing it. So I'm looking forward to it. I played quite a bit of Diablo 3, but never the old ones, so I would play it if it came out. So
And I also heard with the earnings call, which we just discussed in last week's show, how like, while other companies like Disney are totally failing due to the pandemic, Blizzard is in a really good
yeah.
position. How people are staying at home and how the entertainment's affordable. So, Blizzard is business is booming, and maybe with, the success of things like WoW Classic, or like seeing what people are actually hype about, like, I see a lot of people doing Diablo on the Switch, they'd be like, hey, let's actually invest in the properties that are doing well, and we're seeing what really works, and we should not screw up Diablo 2 because people
Yeah.
love it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like they must have learned from what happened. It would be really hurtful for the Diablo franchise to have a mess up again after the Immortal announcement, and then on
And
top
even
of
didn't
that, the
people gonna
Warcraft
love
3.
3 at launch as well? Like, the whole auction house thing, like they already had to,
Yeah,
do some heavy surgery
Yeah.
on that as well. So
yeah.
it's like, but another little bit of Diablo news, our CDNs, Content Delivery Network, Blizzard CDNs, updated with the first Project Fenris vendor build, and Fenris is the code name for Diablo 4. It's encrypted, so they can't be data mined, and I'm sure you remember Towley, like in February and March, we're like, more encrypted Shadowlands, vendor builds, like mysterious things. So my guess is with this Diablo 4 stuff is if Blizzard's working at home and they need to, test things working remotely, they're putting their, work builds up on this hidden network called the vendor network. So I don't think we're gonna have like, Diablo 4 alpha anytime soon, but it was definitely generated a lot of hype when
Mm-hmm.
that was that first build popped up earlier.
Mm-hmm. I also
And we
think
are
the
expecting, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I also think the Diablo 2 remaster will probably be out before Diablo 4, so that also
Oh
gives them
yeah.
a bit of time to, because I think they felt in a way pressured to announce Diablo 4 last BlizzCon because there was barely any work done into it. It felt like, at least.
Right.
So, and it's going to be a really big game from what we did see. So I think Diablo 4 is probably quite far away from now, and having Diablo 2 in between there will sort of fill the gap for people who are hyped about Diablo things.
Yeah. So and like, it's promising that they learned to not release Immortal news at BlizzCon after, they're like, let's not mar Diablo 4 announcement with Immortal tacked onto it. So hopefully things are looking up as to how they, market and string along the Diablo hype.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about the CDN stuff because I know
Yeah.
the gist of it.
Mhm.
Do BlizzCon demos make it to CDNs?
I believe so. Or like when there was that content creator summit for 8.2, like that build was up on, a network for them to try out.
Okay.
And like, but you're not meant to be able to data mine everything. But like classic, for example, we could data mine because people were playing that at home. So that really helped us, get some of the site up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 'cause I was thinking maybe like if they decide to cancel BlizzCon and go virtual this year, what if like some of these little Diablo 4s and
Oh
CDM
yeah.
are all like for demos that they're gonna allow us to play through some like paid feature or something, you know?
Yeah,
True.
like what they did with WoW Classic. So like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts at BlizzCon? I mean, just going off the notes. Like, do you think it's gonna happen this year, or do you think they're just gonna do like a, special super, virtual convention instead with, like extra virtual ticket goodies, like maybe several tiers of virtual ticket goodies?
Yeah, I think that's what they're gonna do. Like, I honestly do not believe there's gonna be a BlizzCon this year. I think it's like, with what's going on in the world, it's a little risky
Yeah.
or whatnot, because any convention just brings people from all around the world. It's just not here in the US or Canada or whatnot. So I mean, I think they should do a virtual BlizzCon and they should sell virtual BlizzCon tickets. And having different tiers would be great,
Mm-hmm.
and being that I'm not sure if there's anything really new to announce, it'd be kind of cool to be like, hey, I paid like 30-40 bucks, whatever the price may be, and as they're doing the virtual BlizzCon, they're like, hey, this is our presentation for Diablo 4. Within the next hour, anyone who has a ticket should see the demo pop up on their BattleNet, and they can download it and play it for the next week. And
Mm-hmm.
same thing for maybe
Yeah.
like Overwatch 2 and BC Classic if they announce that or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's the route they're going to go. It'd be pretty smart too.
Yeah, and like I know a lot of people are, like waiting for their checks to arrive, and they're not really thinking about like vacations and like dropping a bunch of money on like a Disneyland trip at this point. But something like, oh, I'll pay 30 bucks for virtual ticket,
Mm-hmm.
is something you can stomach more than like, oh, I need to buy, cross country flights for my family to,
Yeah.
go to
Mm-hmm.
expensive Anaheim and Disneyland Resort.
And I like that you guys also mentioned the idea of demo, because one of the biggest perks of going to BlizzCon is that you have those games available
Mhm.
there on the PCs, and that is definitely a huge selling point for having a virtual ticket, which is a bit more than what we have seen as a virtual ticket in the past. So maybe we'll continue having the virtual ticket that gives you access to the main sort of panel, so to speak. And then you have a virtual ticket with the additional benefits of playing all those demos that they were planning to have for those PCs at the convention. I think that would actually make a lot of sense. Just having it different tiers for the virtual tickets.
Yeah, and like we were saying about the interviews, yeah, what Ian is doing, showing up on streams, calling in, maybe it's not as fancy as, the Blizzard studio with like all the pretty stuff in the background, but it gets the job done, and maybe this is a good test run for how they could handle some, parts of BlizzCon. Like, you don't need a stage with lighting to get people hype about a patch. Like, wouldn't it be cool if, like Ian's just like, they're filming him at his computer and he's like, okay, we're going to talk about the next patch coming up. Here I am, playing, check out this new zone. Like, let's just move my character to, walk into this new area of Oribos and, just have him commenting on, the new patch. And that's the presentation. And it's like, okay, you guys want to try it out? Demo. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just implanted like a picture of like Ian just at his computer with like a Hawaiian shirt and like khaki shorts, flops, just like going over the next patch.
Yeah.
Oh, 9.1. This is what we have in store for you guys.
Well, it's like, like we're always streaming and reacting to the patch, and it's like, why not have the guys actually working on it, doing their own, stream, walking through the cool stuff and showing it off.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's going to be
yeah,
interesting to see the solution for a virtual experience, complete virtual. Obviously, one of the saddest things, or the biggest downside of no BlizzCon, is that a lot of people use BlizzCon as a meeting point. A lot of people meet their guildies for the first time at a BlizzCon, or other people that they may have played with in the past or play with now. It's always been such a great event for those kind of reasons too, which is then taken away by the virtual experience. But I think they can still make the virtual experience quite fun and more interesting than what we are normally used to with a virtual experience.
Yeah, and I also know that like, last year with BlizzCon it was kind of rough after all those layoffs.
Yeah.
And like, like, a lot of people seemed really stressed, and there was definitely some things that like went through the cracks with like where you
Mm-hmm.
pick up your wristbands, or like what security is open, or like what stuff is happening at which time. Like it, so maybe this is a good year for people to regroup and be like, okay, one guy doesn't have to do 10 different jobs here. Like, what actually makes BlizzCon and the presentations effective, and let's just focus on developing Shadowlands without having to release an expansion and plan a gigantic event on being an event planner and like a community manager at the same time.
I just saw a comment in chat, which is so interesting. Mr. Trotty, he says, I wish they would do an in-game event for BlizzCon, even if it makes no sense with the lore.
Oh,
Imagine something like that. It can even be on a special server, right? Like, it doesn't have to be on live servers. Because that reminds me of Fortnite, for example, when they have new seasons or new patches, they do all these really extravagant things. And
there was the concert in Fortnite even.
yes, that recent concert
BlizzCon closing ceremony have the band in the game.
Imagine if they would make a like an in-game event like that and have a lot of layers probably, so people can log in and just everyone log in and look at what's going on.
That'd be so cool,
right?
Can you imagine like going into Orgrimmar, like a wholly separate server, and there's just like kind of like Horde and Alliance themed, like kind of like monitors, but placed all over Orgrimmar. Like them talking about what's going on, and then everyone's just AOEing everywhere and cheering or whatever. Oh, that'd be so cool.
Comment in the chat. The server lag would be horrible. Well, considering that it's supposed to just be a special event, what they could do maybe is just disable all abilities. Disable everything which can cause lag.
Security, no abilities.
No abilities, nothing to kill.
Yeah.
You just go in and show up. That's it.
Yeah.
I think it could be.
I think that'd be really fun. It's reminding me of also on a smaller scale. Like I know Annie and I both like Animal Crossing. How like people will try to put on, like, oh, my birthday was in quarantine, but I'm celebrating my birthday in Animal Crossing, or a special event going on. Like I like gardening. I like seeing my flower grow in game, and it just reminds me of a similar thing. How people, it doesn't need to be high tech, but people just like connecting, and the creativity will turn an in-game event, into something special.
Indeed. I mean, people have done a lot of those kind of things within WoW too. People have celebrated birthdays, weddings
graves,
even. So it's definitely possible to do in game, and they wouldn't even have to make it super flashy with super, big screens and stuff. But if they would, that would be extra cool. But I'm sure they could put something together and manage the lag by just disabling a lot of things that requires a lot of power.
Yeah, I think that'd be really fun. Did you guys see, as a side note, I know Tyler likes football, I think like there was that Holinka was commenting on it, there was that one team that announced their fall schedule using Animal Crossing graphics, and it was like the most low-tech thing, but it was so cute. So I thought the whole theme of like the past few months has been like, people do not need the flashiest, slickest production value to get the point across, and they, the transparency and being endearing, like, and being sincere, whether it's like an interview or like a advertising slot means more.
I've seen a lot of companies sort of jump onto the Animal Crossing hype train. People creating their own designs as well, so people can download them and wear a T-shirt with their favorite brand on it. It's
Discord just did that.
We're
trying to actually make a Wowhead rocket, but like it didn't exactly work out. Maybe we'll give it another shot.
I think it's worth. And you can also create like designs that you can put on the ground as well. So you could create a multiple piece little rocket, for example, for the ground. I think that could be cool.
Speaking of games and other mediums, we have this closing the show out with some interesting WoW news. The game Small World is now making a variant, Small World of Warcraft, and this was mega popular on the site when we released it. Like, it's just, everyone was very hype about it. A lot of people are staying at home playing board games. The art looks great. There's a cute little like cinematic for it. No release date, just 2020. But yeah, I think it's cool that Blizzard is expanding into other games like this, and I wonder what else they could do.
So is Small World an existing board game already?
Yeah, it's a really popular board game,
Okay.
and there is like a lot of fantasy races and special powers they can have, which translates really well into like WoW's races and racial abilities.
Cool.
Um,
I need to
and
get that.
yeah, yeah, you could play it with when like your sister and their kids are
Yeah.
over, your parents. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I can't give my nieces who are like a year old World of Warcraft account on the PC, but I can get them the board game to get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
that's cool. And the trailer looks really cool too, actually.
yeah, they also talked about adding some mechanics like legendary places and artifacts, which were present in the Small World Underground variant, and I feel like that translates really well into WoW with, the focus on all the artifacts we just got in Legion. Um, so yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I think the timing feels like this was more a BFA theme tie-in versus Shadowlands. But I mean, I know with production development, things take a really long
Yeah, they
time to
do.
actually
Mm-hmm.
like, we saw that like the really awesome Jaina and Sylvanas statues in like
Yeah.
March, and it's like, oh, Jaina, yeah, that would have been nice, 2 years ago. But
Yeah.
you know,
Things take
merch
time.
takes, yeah, especially in this time when with the pandemic, there's like a lot of delays when it comes to shipping and
Mm-hmm.
getting parts made internationally. Um, but yeah, I think this game looks super cute. And just to confirm, this is an actual board game. It's not a digital game. They have pictures of the actual box and all the stuff you get on their little website.
Yeah, because I was a little bit unsure at first, because when I watched it, I can actually play it here as we're talking.
Yeah, why do we do that? It's just short.
There we go. I'll put the volume low so we can also speak on top of it. But when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, is this a digital game? Like that's really cool." But they just made a sort of fancy digital trailer for it, and it's actually a board game.
Yeah, I mean, they could do something digital. I know we always keep saying that if, there's Warcraft Go based on Pokemon Go, we think that would be fun, although probably not. In the past, we're like, oh, wouldn't that be cool if people could just, meet up and kill a boss on a corner and, reminisce about
Mm-hmm.
WoW, but that's, now it's social distancing. That's not the right game for
Yeah.
the social distancing vibe, but, a board game, if you're stuck at home with your family, definitely fits the bill.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Very good timing, actually, with what's going on.
Yeah.
People stuck at home.
Yeah.
We have I think that's it for all the main topics that we wanted to mention today. We can have some last minute comments. And
Yeah.
I see
If there's
that
any
we have a
questions.
question here as well from J Freeboost. He says, "Will allied races have new customizations?"
So they said not for 9.0 launch, but I think this was Ian in the Zoltan interview said that they didn't want customizations to feel like this is the end, that it should always be like an ongoing dialogue. Um, and when the Zoltan interview brought it up, they mentioned things like, the Nightborn don't really have very many, hair colors. And like, now everyone has like dozens of hair colors. So maybe this could be like a point 0.5 type thing. Like I remember Blood Elves got the golden eyes when they got their heritage armor in one of those in between patches. So I
Mm-hmm.
could see this. I mean, I feel like Void Elves, Nightborn, the original four races maybe need more love. That aren't as advanced as some of the later ones like Vulpera.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. And I think a lot of those allied races were very, very fancy compared to the old races. So I think that's why the old races are now getting some attention to be a bit more interesting as well, just not completely overshadowed by all the allied races.
Yeah, and
Um,
like we discussed, I think the Tauren and High Mountain are,
mm-hmm,
juggling that balancing act pretty well.
mm-hmm, indeed. We're looking through the chat to see if there is any more question. Will we see more heritage
Yeah.
sets? I think that was mentioned as well that we will see
Mm-hmm.
more heritage sets for all the original races as well coming up. Which is interesting because I remember in the past they said no to the original races getting them.
Well, I
but-
remember they said no, and then they released them right after. So I feel like Ian was purposely trying to like
Avoid
drum up
questions.
some hype around that. Yeah.
Yeah, or that.
They also said like no. It's also I think they said like no customization, and then we got the golden blood elf eyes around that time as well.
I think it's like a psychological thing. If you tell people something
Yeah.
is coming, then they ask when. Like, hello,
Right.
can you do it already? But if you tell them no and then you do it anyways, it's like, oh, cool. Now it's suddenly
Yeah.
good news.
How many times have they said no and then we get it?
Yeah.
Right.
Like no Death Knight allied races.
No account-wide essences.
True.
Then we get like an essence vendor. It's like
No covenant swapping.
Yeah. Well, they actually said at first it was like, oh, you can never change, and it's like, oh, you can change, but swapping back might be the difficult thing.
Yeah, it's like one step there.
I am trying to move my laptop so I can pick up the cat because I think the show is winding down, but I have like a maze of wires. So let's see if I can do this. He's
Do we
right
know
here.
if there are any upcoming interviews soon? I feel like the interviews kind of pop randomly, so we don't know of any interviews that are coming up now.
Look.
But you never know; they could happen anytime.
Look, baby.
oh.
Aww.
What a good boy.
How long in advance did you know about your interview, Towley?
Yeah, that's a good
For
question.
mine, I knew about mine probably since before Alpha came out.
So,
Yeah.
if you would estimate how long it was since you knew and since it happened.
Like a week,
Oh.
maybe notice.
Oh no, it was before like they just came to me about it and then it happened.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Yeah.
now you know you're gonna do an interview and then you decide the date. Like how
Oh,
long in
I don't-
between?
Probably like 2-3 weeks. I think it was like
Okay.
3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, because there were so many delays with the alpha, and that
Of
was like
course.
the initial plan
Yeah.
that they wanted to do. They wanted to be able to interview everybody or a certain amount of streamers as the alpha came out. But as it got delayed, it was like, all right, well, we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you, and then it finally
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Like with the guy who, Torghast was his baby, so it will make, they needed to time that right. It wouldn't make
Of
sense
course.
if you were going
Of
to ask
course.
about the feature that wasn't on alpha.
Yeah. But yeah, we can probably expect some more interviews coming up in the near future.
I think so.
Yeah. Ian's not only doing the stream interviews, but also that, Wired interviewers talking about his coworkers, causing drama in, classic dungeons. So, yeah, seems like he's everywhere recently.
Has there been any word
So-
on secondary profession improvements? I think it's mostly
not
been
a
talked about the
ton with-
main professions, right?
I mean, if you consider cooking a secondary profession, then
Yeah, I
they
guess it
have
is.
some. They've got the feasts that look really cool, and then some of the effects are like Bear Tartar and other cool things people like from Classic. So it's not just like, oh, this increases your mastery. They're trying to do interesting stuff, but I mean, a lot of the reagent amounts aren't really finalized at this point. A lot of the zones are closed, so we don't really know what's going on with herbalism and mining quite yet.
And in case there's anybody here who hasn't really played for some time, first aid is gone, is not a profession anymore, and all of the recipes in that profession, I think, were moved over to tailoring.
Yeah, tailoring and alchemy.
Yeah.
And, okay, so it's split between tailoring and alchemy. Yeah, well, I think that's a wrap.
Yep, Bright Paw's really.
Bright
upset
Paw is
that
also
Birthday
ready.
wasn't moved. Yes.
Like,
So-
Paul's like, let's go.
Yep.
Yes.
Closing the show, we normally do a high five. Are you up for that, Towley?
Sure.
All right. So because you're on the right side and we're on the left, you're gonna have to high five both of us. So you need two hands. One which is a bit above and one which is a bit below.
Oh wait.
Because
Which
we're
hand do
both on
I
the same
need?
side
Oh,
for
wait,
you.
hold on. I'm navigationally bad. You
Okay.
like this?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, which hand do I need? Please say it's the one Bright Paw's not.
It's the one Bright Paw is on.
But what happens if I could just do this?
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Because I'm not. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you need to do the countdown and the noise because
Yeah.
my hand is
I'll
just
do a
going.
snap. The snap will be the clapping sound.
Okay.
Okay. I'll do the countdown.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. We did it!
Yay, we did it!
We made it,
Thank you
and
for
Brian
not
Paul is
helping,
still with
Grandpa.
us. Oh. Wash your hands after. Oh, this is safe social distancing online.
Exactly.
You can all
Yep.
do this at home. It's very safe. Get on Discord, Skype, or whatever you have, and high five all the people you're talking to. Very safe. Very recommended.
And hug your pet. Your
Hug.
pet does not.
Yeah, you
need
can hug
social
your pet.
distancing.
Yes, they're safe too.
Grandpa, I'm like talking about hugging you, and you're like mauling my arm.
Is there any last things that you want to say, Towley?
No, I mean, thank you for having me. It's been so much fun. I hope I get to do this again with you all. And
Would love to have you here again.
yeah, whenever you guys want, just call upon me. You'll know where to find me. So it's like, but yeah, no, I mean, I hope to be here again soon. And let's look forward to Shadowlands and beta and release and the craziness that's gonna happen this year and next year. You know?
Can you be Alliance next time?
Ooh.
Not really.
Oh.
Well, it's worth a shot.
Grandpa, go after him.
Yeah. I think at this point I'm pretty much like Loktar Ogar for life. You know?
Oh
like,
no.
Oh
We
no.
lost him, chat. We lost him.
He's like, I just moved Horde and now I'm Horde for life.
I started Horde though, so I mean I have that. You know, I just happen to find good people on Alliance.
You guys need to convince him to go back.
Oh god, no.
All right, you guys didn't hear that, right? I was just talking to chat. Okay, well, one other little side note is that Wowhead Weekly will start airing on Mondays instead of Thursdays. We are going to be in this sort of middle thing going on for the next couple weeks, and then we should be able to continuously have the show on Mondays. You should follow Wowhead on Twitter to keep up because we always tweet out twitter.com/wowhead. We always tweet out when the shows go live. They are weekly most of the time, at least. There's some exceptions every now and again. They have always been on Thursdays, or at least for a really long time, but will be swapped over to Mondays very soon. So yeah, follow the Twitter, and you can follow the Twitch channel too to get notified for when we are live. And yeah, soon we're gonna become a Monday show. So it's a
it just doesn't make sense with how like builds can, a lot of the time they're on Thursdays or they're super late Wednesday, or there's interviews that could happen, and Mondays just seem to be a safe day, and it's also when Annie is free as well. So we're gonna swap to there.
We tested a bit of Monday after the Shadowlands Alpha randomly dropped on a Thursday a few weeks ago, and Monday felt pretty good. So yeah, we're gonna go back to that in a future perspective. And I see some people, or I see Meadow Bolt in the chat saying, "We want him Horde. We mostly play Horde." His viewers have begged for him to be Horde, by the way. Oh god. Yeah. A lot of people have tried to make me change side as well, but I'm staying Alliance. But I do understand, though. There's a lot of people who are moving over to Horde because it seems to be the most populated and more active faction.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to ask Ian in a future thing if it's, something to be like, hey, I went Horde because all these guilds are going Horde,
Yeah.
I know you're, what are your thoughts that people at higher levels are doing this? So
I have friends in like 3 or 4 different mythic guilds on my server, and all the guilds all of those three or four are moving or have moved in the past like a month or two to Horde. So we're losing everyone. Do something about it. We'll see.
yeah.
But yeah, thank you very, very much, Tally, for being here, and thank you guys in the chat for representing. Hammers up.
Hammers
Yes.
up.
Hammers up. And hopefully we'll get to have Tally here again sometime in the future.
Absolutely.
And
thank you so much for all the support you've been giving, to all the love to Stevan, all the hype for the data mining streams, all the gifted subs from that last stream we did, the hype train. So we really appreciate all the love that you give to Wowhead. helping us out. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, anytime. You all deserve it. You do great work, and you guys work really hard, so you deserve it.
Aw.
Oh,
It's true. The Wowhead team is amazing. You guys do amazing things. So it's good to see it. It's good to see it. Yeah, we will be back next. I want to say next week, same time. But like I said, there is a slight schedule change, so probably not. But follow the channel, follow the Twitter to keep up with when we will go live soon. And in the near future, the shows should be on Mondays. So good night, good afternoon, or whatever the time is where you live, and we'll see you next time. And I'm sure in the meantime, you will catch Stevan probably digging around in the data mining world.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
Well,
see you all soon.
See you, everyone.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.